I just had, you had mentioned about possible coming changes, like on a geological level. To me, it seems so chance. Like I'd appreciate maybe some thoughts on your thoughts on. Do we just trust our intuition as far as where to go, what to do, how to plan for something like that, or it seems a rather daunting thing to try to get your head around.
Well, you know, change occurs all the time. And you do things intuitively all the time as well, whether you realize it or not. You might change the way you go home one day and do something different, and then when you get home you find out that right where you would have been there was a horrific car crash. That, in fact, just happened to my wife. And she did something completely out of the ordinary for her. And she would have been right there. So, you know, everybody has their guides. Everybody has their own intuition. I'm not always the most intuitive at times either. But it's just, it's the only way I know to answer this is you just learn to trust yourself. It could be that you'll be guided to go out of town when something happens. I don't have that answer. Or you will be right where you don't think you need to be, but you're going to be there for a very, very good reason. And out of it will come out a self-empowerment that you never would have had before. We all have our own paths, and we are all creating our own realities. And we all have our own personal agendas for learning and growing and becoming who we are. Your experience is going to be very different than mine. And I don't know how to, you know, to tell you. I mean, hey, if I had a hard date, but I never do, and I don't get a hard date. And I've made that mistake in the past about giving hard dates, when in fact they were probabilities. So the fact is, I don't know either. But you just have to trust that you will be exactly where you need to be when you need to be there. And I know that, you know, that's kind of a foo-foo, la-li-la answer, but I don't, that's my own experience as well, you know, that I just have to pray and hope that, you know, have faith that I'll be exactly where I need to be.
I appreciate that. That's pretty much how my take on it, and I just wanted to kind of see what your thoughts were on that, because to try to take it from a mental perspective and plan and get out maps and seems a little absurd to me, and that's kind of going the other direction in the trusting the flow of life. So I appreciate that answer.
Exactly. And personally, I wrestle with that all the time. I try to have backup plan to backup plan to backup plan to backup plan, and I spend all this energy doing this, and it goes completely a different direction. So.
How you doing? Thank you so for being here. I just had a question. When you mentioned the thing about the 47 levels of government, which are just
levels of security clearance.
Security, yeah, that the president doesn't even know, that he's not really in charge. This happened 46 years ago, of course, but I was just wondering, what are your thoughts on the purpose of President Kennedy's assassination? I just was curious about that, if you had, you know, wondering.
No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. I just, ooh, man. Okay, I will tell you my perspective on that. Eisenhower told Kennedy about 54. So Kennedy knew, and he told Bobby, obviously. One of the things that happened, and this has been documented through the great work that Dr. Stephen Greer has done with the Disclosure Project, is that most of the extraterrestrial knowledge and technology and exchange of technology went black 3 weeks after Eisenhower knew about it. So he didn't even know where it was. And this has been confirmed by one of his chief of staff, a brigadier general. It's Langdon, I believe it is. Langdon. So he shared all this with John Kennedy. And apparently where they felt the hub of the loss of where this technology had gone and how far it went black was something called the Special Operations Coordinating Group, which is part of the National Security Council. And what's interesting to note is that the first thing John Kennedy did when he took office was sign a presidential directive abolishing the Special Operations Coordinating Group. Now, no one knows exactly who they are, but they're not only connected to the intelligence, but also to all the black programs, to the secret space program, and everything else. There is some conjecture that these people are the governors of the Federal Reserve, because they control the money, and it's really all about the money. That's a conjecture, though. I don't know for a fact. But what's interesting to note is that they had connections everywhere, to everything, because all the intelligence from above would come to them, and then they would decide which information the president was supposed to get. Again, those layers of security clearances. What's interesting to note is after the assassination, the very first thing Johnson did when he got back into the White House was recreate the Special Operations Coordinating Group, now known as Special Group, in the National Security Council. That's my take on it.
That's awesome. But that time during the 60s, of course, there's like, of course, like 4 more. Are they all like just kind of series of random events, or are they all different, like, King and Bobby and, are they just all random occurrences of lone nuts, like, James Array and all those guys in Syrian, or are they just a part of that whole thing?
I think that there are programs that overlap all the actions that occur in each country. Yes, there are some lone nuts or individuals that do things. But there's also, at the same time, an overwhelming amount of evidence that many people have been brainwashed and created to be hitters, to go wet and take out people. So I don't know. But again, let's go back to Operation Paperclip. A lot of the brainwashing and mind control technology that the Germans had been given was brought over here. And they just continued operating here under different names and with new passports. So it's a very big, and I don't know all the components. It's a very big question, but on the surface, does it look like it was done on purpose? I mean, look at the individuals, who they were. They were making change. They were creating an awareness. They were behind a very powerful, or the focal point of a very powerful movement for change, to make things happen for the betterment of everybody. Okay? And that's, again, that is the pyramidal power structure. You lop off the head, loss of knowledge, it flounders. Somebody can come in, take control, and move it the other way. Then it doesn't exist. So, okay?
Hello, sir. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
First, I wanted to thank you for bringing up a subject that I feel is one of the most important things that we can talk about here at this conference. And as far as I can tell, you're the first person to bring it up. It's the monetary system, the economic system that we predominantly use in this world. What my question is if you or the Andromedans have any insight to offer as far as the transition that we'll need in order to transcend an economic system that posits us in a position of feeling like we need to compete with each other in order to survive, making us feel separated from each other instead of being one.
That's a great question. And let me ask you this back. What are your thoughts on it first?
Obviously, you can tell how I worded my question.
This is about, mentoring is about self-empowerment.
That's right.
Okay? What are your ideas on it first? It's great to ask somebody for their advice when you don't have a clue what you want to do. Okay? But that can wrongly, or to your betterment, influence you. But it's better for you to have some idea about where you stand and why you stand on a particular position or a reason to make a change than to have somebody tell you. Because whatever they do to intervene, to intercede, it has to empower us. Otherwise, it's futile. If we will not take responsibility for ourselves, for our homes, for our planets, for each other, there's nothing to work with. They're extremely encouraged. So much so that the Andromedan Council has begun discussing mentorship of Earth. And as of right now, there are 4 races who have already signed up. And genetically, they are connected to Earth. Now, genetically connected to Earth means that they have been here in the past. They have probably been some of the gods that have been worshipped, who have left offspring and have created civilizations. Okay? Here. And we're the remnants of it. This is why we have already so many different races. There's a lot more to all this. We also have a situation where our solar system is moving through a very particular part of the galaxy. We are moving through a plasma belt. We are moving through the galactic plane. And this causes a lot of shifts. It changes everything. It's like the ultimate Mercury retrograde. Okay. Which can be pretty scary, actually. So, I'm going to sit down. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. The bad guys are about to play their last trump card. They're done. They're already done. Okay? We have begun the process of freeing ourselves from all this shit. Bravo. Bravo. We have done what centuries. We are about to do what centuries of human beings have not been able to do. And that is get the big picture and realize that we are all one. That no matter how much we disagree, you're my brother, you're my sister, and there's nothing I can do to change that. We have to figure out how to live together, and in reality, we can live together. We can. It's ridiculous to think we can't. In fact, we have to really work hard at not learning to live together. Okay? War is the enemy. It is not the solution. It has become the enemy. We have technology that we simply cannot control, and we have technology that we don't even know about. Free energy, you've heard Mr. Allen's talk last night, for those of you who are here. There are many others talking about free energy. We have it. In fact, cold fusion has been nailed. It does exist. A program working under DARPA has solved it, and literally for under $2 million, they can build a system that can power a city of 50,000 people indefinitely. It's a done deal, but they're sitting on it. They're sitting on propulsion systems that could take us to the stars. They're sitting on magneto drives that we could put in automobiles that can run forever. Electric cars. They're sitting on this. Even though you paid for it, we built the technology, okay? We don't own it. Private corporations do. But that's okay. That's okay. Because in the end, they won't be here. Okay? They're done. Okay? It's all done. Now, what we have to focus on is what we want to create. Mentorship is not where we are saved, we are rescued. They're going to come down and police our streets. That is not what this is about. Okay? In their opinion, the idea of mentorship is to show you the possibilities. And the first thing that they would do would be, number one, to introduce us to ourselves. Give us some real, genuine history, and probably show us on the planet where that history is, so we can then again dig it up and prove it to ourselves. This is who we are. This is where we come from. This is what really happened. Okay? And this is where all the programs of war and hate and greed have come from. Okay? These are all learned behaviors, ladies and gentlemen. These are all learned behaviors. When we left the creation, when we left God, Great Spirit, we didn't have this crap with us. These are all learned behaviors. We all fell into time, and then we decided to try the light, and then try the dark, and then try the light, and then try the dark, and see how far we could go and how we would come back home. Okay, it's all been an experiment, all in the process of creating ourselves.